Now, as I promised before, I'll be doing a lot of FAQ series on this particular on my channel, which is like frequently asked questions, just to educate a lot of people on the common questions we come across when a lot of our property investors and property buyers want to buy a property. So, in this episode, I'll be looking at 500 square meter versus 600 square meter, because that's like almost the most common land sizes right now in Lagos. When you want to buy a property, you see it's 500 square meter, so price, or sometimes you see 600 square meter, so price. So is there any advantage of buying a 500 square meter instead of 600 square meter, and is there any advantage of buying a 600 square meter instead of a 500 square meter? So that's what we'll be analyzing here in this particular episode. So in case you are coming across a video that is for the first time, this is Meet the Property channel, and this will discuss everything real estate that I want to buy, invest, or sell a property here in Nigeria. We share tips, guides, and advice on what to look out for, where to look out for, and the different things that you need to know if you want to buy or invest in real estate here in Lagos or in Nigeria entirely. So let's go into the topic: 500 square meter versus 600 square meter of land. Which is better? Now, a lot of our investors, particularly people that are 50 and above, still don't buy into this our concept of square meters. So they ask you plainly, what's the feet equivalent of this land? Is it 60 by 120? Is it 60 by 60? Is it 30 by 120? And so on. Now, when we say 60 by 120, we're talking about feet. So 60 feet by 120 feet. In equivalent, 60 feet by 120 feet is 648 square meter when you convert it. So 30 by 120 feet, that's 324 square meter, because that's half of 648 square meter. So a half plot can be either 30 by 120 or 60 by 60. That's the old way. A lot of land in Lagos now are no longer using 648 square meter or 324 square meter. So the most common land sizes now are 500 square meter, 300 square meter, and then 600 square meter. So depending on the estate or the company that you want to buy from, some companies sell 500 square meter and some sell 600 square meter. But in the past 6-9 months now, it's becoming a norm that a lot of companies now are no longer even selling 600 square meter for their full plots. They are more tilting into 500 square meter. So let's look at it. Is there any major difference between a 500 square meter land and a 600 square meter land? Is there any advantage I'm getting by buying a 500 square meter, or is there any advantage I'm getting by buying a 600 square meter? Now, looking at it numerically, 600 square meter is higher, bigger, and larger than 500 square meter. So by buying a 600 square meter land, you are getting a larger land, a bigger land, and also more space, depending on whatever that you want to use it for, unlike a 500 square meter. Now, in terms of feet equivalent, the feet equivalent for 600 square meter or 500 square meter can be a bit tricky, because there is no standard feet dimension. A land can be in any shape. It can be a square, it can be a rectangle, it can be a trapezium, it can be anything. So it depends on how that land is physically, on the layout of that estate or the layout of that street, that will determine the dimension. Some land are wide in the front, so they are wide at breadth and then short in length. Some are long in length and short in breadth. So all these things will always determine the dimension of that land. So for example, now 450 square meter is 50 by 100. So for a 600 square meter can be 60 by 100, which is 60 feet by 100 feet, and it can even still come under other dimensions. Can be 50 by 110, can be, depending. It just depends on how they allocate that land, and if it's longer in length or if it's wider in breadth. So that's why it'd be a bit tough for us to say this is the exact dimension of a 600 square meter land or exact dimension of a 500 square meter land. But a surveyor can help you with that, and that's why I advise whenever you want to buy a land, try to always get a surveyor involved before you pay. They can help you with verifying the dimensions, charting, and all those other things. So it's very key involving a surveyor in this thing. I'm not a surveyor. So people used to come to my DM and ask me, I'm not a surveyor. I sell land and houses. That's what I do. So a 600 square meter is basically bigger than a 500 square meter. And another thing you should note there is, if you want to perfect your property at Lagos State Ministry of Land, Lagos State doesn't use 600 square meter or 500 square meter to charge you. What they're going to charge you is 700 square meter. So if your land is 500 square meter, the assessment report and the assessment analysis they will be charging you will be based on 700 square meter, because that's their own plot size. If your land is 600 square meter, that's still going to charge you based on 700 square meter. So if you buy 2 plots of 500 square meter and it's 1,000 square meter, the Lagos State government will be charging you based on 1,400, because that is their own dimension for 2 plots. If it's 600 square meter that you buy 2, that's 1,200. The assessment reports and all those other charges you'll be getting from Lagos State will be based on 1,400 too. So that's why the cost of documentation for a bigger land, a larger land, is always cheaper than when you are doing small land. Cost of documentation for small lands. So that's another thing for you to note. Very, very important. So, and in terms of the big advantage of 600 square meter is you can divide the land comfortably. So you can buy a 600 square meter and divide it into 300. And each of those 300 can take a fully detached duplex. Either a fully detached 5-bedroom, a fully detached 4-bedroom can be on each unit. Now for a 500 square meter, you can divide the 500 square meter to 250 square meter here, 250 square meter at the other side too, but it will be smaller. You can still get the building approval here in Lagos on a 250 square meter land comfortably. Yeah, 250 square meter land here comfortably. So you can divide a 500 square meter land to on 250. You can even sell one and develop one, depending on how you want it to be. But it now becomes tricky when you want to divide the land into 3. So on a 600 square meter, you can divide into 200, and still have building on each. 200. But the 500 square meter, I doubt it. I think there was even a time Lagos State or Ogun State made a publication that they will not be granting building approval for buildings on 150 square meter again. So, but on 200 square meter, relatively, you should still be able to get a building approval on that. So you can divide your land into 3 if you are buying a 600 square meter, or basically you can have a terrace on a 600 square meter, which is like 3 rows of houses. So you are seeing the advantage now. 500 square meter you can divide into 250. 600 square meter you can divide into 2 also, 300, or do 400, 200. Now for a 600 square meter you can divide into 3, 200. But for a 500 square meter, I doubt you are going to be able to get building approval when you divide that land into 3. So these are things that you should note. So if you insist you want a 600 square meter and the company are not selling 600 square meter in that estate, there's a workaround. Just buy 200-300. Because almost every real estate company, they sell 300 square meter. So you can buy 200-300 and they can join those 200-300 for you, and you have your 600 square meter. So in case you feel like the 500 square meter is a shitting, I won't really say it's a shitting though, but you can just get 200-300 in that estate and you have your 600 square meter back. Because a lot of real estate companies now, for land in Ogombo, land in Ibeju, land in Ibeju-Lekki, land in even around the Alaro city also, they are all selling 500 square meter, not 600 square meter. So these are just the difference. So if you are looking at it, that why is this one selling 500 square meter and this one is selling 600 square meter, and then you want to like compare and make a decision based on it, these are just the points that you have to also be looking at. 600 square meter is bigger and definitely it will be more expensive. If 500 square meter is 11 million, they'll be charging you around like 13 million or even 14 million for a 600 square meter. So if they are not selling 600 square meter and they are selling 500 square meter, just buy 200-300 square meter in that estate and you have your 600 square meter. The biggest advantage is you can divide that land into 3, or you can have 3 units of building on that land. And if it's a place that you want to stay there, then definitely you have more land area, you have more compound space and so on. But 600 square meter is not 60 by 120. It's not 60 by 120. 60 by 120 is 648 square meter. 648. So which means that it's even bigger than a 60 by 600 square meter. So 600 square meter relatively can just approximately 60 by 100, or depending on the dimension can be like 50 by 110, 50 by 120, depending on how they map out that land. So I think that I've clarified that enough for you to at least understand what a 500 square meter means, what a 600 square meter means, and the advantage you get from either going for a 500 or going for a 600. And if you want to perfect that property in the future also, you can, like for example, 700 square meter times 3 is 2,100. 600 times 3 is 1,800. So if you buy 3 plots, 1,800, the government will be charging you the same rates of someone that has a 2,100 square meter. So you can just try to look at where both meet. For example, now 700 square meter times 5, that's 3,500 square meter. 500 square meter times 7 is 3,500 square meter. So if you are buying the 500 square meter and you can buy 7 plots, fantastic. So that you can get that, even that one now you'll be getting it cheaper because you bought 7 plots from the estate, but when you are doing documentation, the government will be charging you based on you have 5 plots. I don't know if anyone gets this or it's confusing. Now, if you want to do your perfection in Lagos State government calculates each plot as 700 square meter. So 700 times 5 is 3,500 square meter. If you buy a land and it's 500 square meter and you buy 7 plots, 7 plots is 3,500 square meter. So if you want to do your perfection at Lagos State now, you have 7 plots there from the estates, but the Lagos State government will be doing your assessment based on 5 plots because they calculate their own plot size based on 700. So that can be a big advantage for you. So that's why I said if you are doing perfection for larger plot size, it's always better than when you are doing smaller plot sizes. So I think me number one party on the planet, property advisor, property consultant, Rabbi Mustafa, thanks once again for following us, for the attention, for being part of our channel. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks once again.